in this video, I'm going to be explaining how and why I quit drinking alcohol. I have been sober for about 6 months so far. It's been incredible, so let's get into it. But before we get into things, I just want to clarify, I am not a therapist, I am not a psychologist, I am not an expert in alcohol abuse or anything in that field. This is my personal experience in going sober, but don't take this as personal advice, don't take this as medical advice, just watch it for entertainment, and that is my little disclaimer that I have for you. So, now that we've got all of that out of the way, let's get into the why I stopped drinking alcohol and went sober. Well, this past New Year's, my boyfriend and I think 10 or 12 of our friends stayed at this house in Cabo. I wanted to have a fun night. I wanted everyone to get a little wild. So we were pouring drinks for everyone, and by the time we got to the venue where we were going to spend New Year's Eve, I was pretty buzzed. I was heavily buzzed. And then we started taking shots at the venue, and by the end of the night, I was completely blacked out and didn't remember anything. I swore at my boyfriend, which I've literally never done ever in my entire life. I cried in the bathroom after I did that because I felt like such a horrible person, and I woke up feeling horrible about myself, and then physically feeling horrible, obviously. And it was that night that I decided that I would never drink again. And I know people, kind of say, oh, I'm never going to drink again, but I've been very true to my word, and I don't intend on drinking again. This is because I like to be mindful of the decisions I make. I don't like to say something, then the feeling wears off and I go back to doing it again. I've known too many people who fall into this loop of, I'm never drinking again after an awful hangover or doing something stupid while drunk, and I just don't want to be one of those people. So let's get to the how of how I am not drinking anymore. The first thing I did was educate myself. I believe that knowledge is power, so I started researching the side effects of drinking alcohol just so I could see if there were any good side effects drinking alcohol, so I knew if I should just restrict it or cut it out altogether. And based off my research, any justification of good side effects of drinking alcohol really just seem like justifications for why you should drink alcohol, and any good side effects can be found through exercise or being with friends, things like that. Overall, the most common side effects of drinking alcohol are weight gain, fatigue, change in mood, most often irritability and anger, loss of libido, insomnia, and a weakened immune system. And increased tension in romantic and family relationships. As someone who strives for wholeness in every aspect of her life, this reason alone was enough for me to stop drinking, but there are 5 more ways that I decided to stop drinking. Dependency. I didn't want to be dependent on alcohol for any reason whatsoever. Most of all, I didn't want to be dependent on it to have a good time, which is, I feel the number one reason people tend to drink alcohol. I wanted to be able to be fully sober and still really enjoy myself in whatever environment I was in. So I identified occasions where I tend to feel a little bit more uncomfortable, namely parties and events where I don't know a lot of people. And I simply practiced being sober and being comfortable. I read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, and if you get there early enough when people are mostly sober, you can actually have some pretty decent conversations with strangers. All you gotta do is ask them about themselves. And then when they ask you why you're not drinking, you're gonna tell them exactly why, and it kind of reinforces why you're not drinking, and it reminds yourself, okay, yeah, I feel really good about this decision. This is why I'm not drinking. The third thing I did was I identified as a sober person. When people ask if I want to drink, I reply, no, I'm sober. Instead of, no, I'm not drinking right now. I've decided to make it my identity. I am not someone who drinks alcohol. This is so important in every major decision you make, to identify as the person that you're wanting to become. I trained myself to hate it. I literally trained myself to abhor alcohol. I shudder at the smell of it. And if I ever have the slightest inclination to drink, I just reflect back on how horrible I felt New Year's Day, after things I said to my boyfriend, and physically how awful I felt, and any smell of alcohol, just blech. Oh, literally I get chills from thinking about it. Basically, I just associate the absolute worst memories with alcohol. I've learned that if we hate something, then we take the steps to avoid it completely. So then nothing seems attractive about it, no matter how many times you're exposed to it. There is research that shows that alcoholics are more likely to drink alcohol when they're in a social setting or during the evening times. I've personally never struggled with alcoholism, but I decided to use this research to my advantage. So I imagine myself at social events being pleased to deny alcohol. I literally feel the pleasure in making a healthy decision by choosing sparkling water or a mocktail instead. And it turns out a really good mocktail tastes just as good as an alcoholic cocktail. So a person's habit loop looks like this. There's a cue, a routine, and an award. The cue is they're out and about and they feel inclined to drink because maybe they're a little bit uncomfortable. The routine is they order some drinks. And the reward is they start to feel a little buzzed, they start to feel a little good about themselves, and they feel comfortable. I've adjusted mine to look like this. Cue, I'm out and about, and maybe I start to feel a little uncomfortable, so I want to change something about that. Routine, I order a mocktail, and I strike up a conversation with someone. Reward, I feel really good about myself by the end of the night. I know I'm going to wake up great, and I might have made a new friend. I intend on maintaining sobriety for the rest of my life. However, I've never tried eggnog, and I kind of want to try eggnog, and I also am not opposed to taking a sip of my boyfriend's wine glass because he chooses really good wine, and sometimes I just want to taste it. But I never intend on having a full glass to myself or taking more than a sip essentially. The past 6 months, I've felt really good. I wake up every single morning feeling clear-headed, ready to start the day, and overall happy with the decisions that I made. There hasn't been a single moment when I regret giving up alcohol. If you're giving up drinking, then you might start to notice shifts in people who are really close to you, especially friends that you might go out with a lot. Remember this. If they're truly loving and supportive people, then they're going to support you on this journey and they're not going to badger you or persuade you to try to start drinking again. I mean, you might even be able to persuade them to join you in a month of sobriety. And if you find yourself suddenly feeling uncomfortable or pressured around them, then it might be a sign that they weren't really good friends or they weren't around for the right reasons to begin with, and this new journey that you're embarking on is simply exposing that. I'm always here if you have any questions, and I really appreciate you watching this video. Be sure to subscribe and click the notification button so you're notified anytime I upload a video. Thanks for watching. Bye.